kind of understand where you guys are all at. If we could just take a few minutes, I know this will take some of our conversation time away, but for you to go around and actually introduce yourselves, tell me what your role is, and how long you've been in the field, and just any other thing you want to share about yourself, like if you like to take long walks on the beach, or if you're a Scorpio, or all that kind of good stuff, you know. So anyway, so April, why don't you kind of prompt folks, since you've got everybody, I think, on your screen as to who everybody is, just to help me. So.
Sure. I'm also recording this, so just want to make everybody aware of that. My name is April Wagner. I'm the Employment Support Coordinator at Fairfield County Board of DD. And Kyle, looks like you're next.
Great. So I think Vic probably knows who I am, and I know. I'll just tell you a real quick story. So Vic's been in the business a while, and so always was one of the top folks when it came to either adult services way back in the day or employment as I've gone through my career. And it was real interesting. We hired a job developer in Licking County many, many years ago, and he was real new. He was new to the system, and he had been to a training, and he came back from his training and rushed back to me because he had another career that he had retired from. He came back, rushed to me. We've got to go to Wood County. We got to talk to this Vic Gable because he can help us with what we're trying to come up with. And so of course, I said, let's take the trip. You know, anytime, I'm always out for a road trip, as Jamie and Leslie and those guys like to know. So it was great to go up and just let Vic tell us, you know, here's some pointers on how to do stuff. And again, this wasn't the first time that I'd heard Vic speak, because I've seen him throughout my career in this business, and he is a trailblazer in the system. And I'm just so excited he was willing to come and meet with us. And if I could have done the introduction, I just said we couldn't have asked for a better person to talk about employment. So thanks so much, Vic Gable, for coming.
You're welcome.
Jamie.
I'm Jamie Rigsby, Community Support Specialist for Fairfield County Board. I've been in the field since 1998, and I've done a wide variety of things. I did a brief period of job coaching when we had some enclaves and things like that. Worked in the workshop, worked in residential, was a private provider, worked case management type program specialist thing, and now I work with the rest of our provider support team, who do a lot of work with providers, supporting them, training, supporting other stakeholders, ISCs, things like that.
Okay, you're the first person to mention employment specialist. I think you called yourself. Is that your title? Is that what you said?
No, community support specialist.
Community support. Okay, define that for me, just to help me understand that,
Really
because everybody's got these
doesn't really
terms for
match what I
things. I
do,
just
I
want to
don't
make.
think. But so basically, my main role is that I am looking at plans and reviewing outcomes, making sure that those outcomes align with the assessment, and then also making sure then that the services that are being provided to that person all align with the plan and the outcomes. I check in with providers to make sure that there's progress being made no matter what the outcome is. And then I go back to the ISC. We discuss any concerns, questions, recommendations, things like that about the plan and or services.
Okay, thanks.
Amanda Snook.
Hello, I'm Amanda Snook. I'm a job trainer. I worked at the workshop for 7 years, and then I've been a job trainer. It'll be 4 years next month. So.
Great. Well, that's how I started out when I actually came to the county board. I was a job coach for a few years. Love it.
Kristen.
Hi, my name is Kristen Thorne, and I'm the provider resource specialist for the county board. I have been in the field for 31 years, and my job is very similar to Jamie's, so I won't repeat that, but I also review ISPs, and I train the job trainers and the staff for Job Fusion when those come. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Amanda Scheidegger.
I'm Amanda Scheidegger. I am the Job Development Coordinator for Job Fusion with the Fairfield County Board. I've been here now for 5 years, and before this I worked in higher education. So I was a career advisor for a number of years and then worked in housing as well. So I had about 15 years in higher ed and then kind of made the shift over here.
Okay. Thanks, Amanda.
Ray?
Hi, I'm Ray Schmidt. I'm the Director of Quality for the County Board. I've been involved in the field in one way or another since 1979.
Oh, my goodness.
Moved around. Yeah.
A rookie.
Yeah. There's that.
Julie?
Hi, I'm an ISC or an SSA, better known to many other counties. I'm a new adult ISC, and I'm handling a lot of transition adults. So they've come out of high school
Oh,
and they're headed toward employment. So this is really fairly new to me, although I have my own son who he has a disability and he is working and doing really well. So that's my experience anyway. So
good. Yeah, transition's a huge piece of this. There's too many kids who finish school and come to the adult world not prepared for what the future will bring. So
that's true, and it's been exceptionally difficult here just recently to give them that experience.
it is, yeah. Some of this blueprint, Kyle probably will share with you. Some of this blueprint work we're doing is reaching into the school districts and hopefully maybe be able to start some meaningful, at least employment experiences for students before they exit school. So
Leslie?
I'm Leslie Dancho, and my title is Community Support Manager, but I supervise the Job Fusion staff and part of our provider resources staff. I've been with the county board for 7 years, I think. And before that, I worked in the private world. So I started as a direct care staff. Then I became a Q in an ICF, and then a program director over several ICFs, and did MUI investigations and stuff like that before I came to the board.
great, Leslie, thank you.
Dorinda?
Hi, I'm Dorinda Gear. I'm a certified work incentive practitioner. I just got my out-on credential for transitioning youth, and we're going to somehow incorporate that into Fairfield County. I also support the other 87 counties in the state of Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I've been here about going on 5 years, and before that, I spent nearly 40 years in aerospace.
Oh my gosh.
I started when I was 2.
A rocket scientist with us.
Aaron?
Hi, my name is Aaron Stebleton. I'm a job coach. I've been doing this for 3 years, 1 year with the county board. Yeah, I'm a Scorpio, so.
Thanks for sharing, Aaron.
Allison?
Hello, I'm Allison Woodside, and I am the Behavior Support Strategist for DD. I've been employed for 9 years with the company, so.
Thank you.
Teresa?
Hi, okay, I didn't think I was turned on. I am Teresa Ruff, and I am a job trainer with Job Fusion. I've been with Fairfield ED for almost 5 years, not quite. And then prior to that, I worked with senior citizens in an assisted living environment in many different capacities, from direct supports to administrative. I was a cook, so all kinds of things. And then a lot of stuff before that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas?
Hi, so I'm an adult ISC as well, and I've been in the field for a little over 3 years now.
Thanks, Nicholas.
Letitia?
I'm Letitia. I'm an ISC supervisor. I've been with the county board for about 12 years now. Actually came to the county board right after doing an internship with you at Wood County. So that was for my schooling at Bowling Green State University.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then similar to Kyle, when I came to Fairfield County, my supervisor, I talked to her about how great things were in Wood County, and we came up and had a little visit. So, definitely taking a page out of your book. So thank you.
Well, let me share with you. My book is the book of everywhere. I'm a shameless stealer. You know, part of the things that I've learned over the years through my CARF travels, I bring those back and I share those with anybody who's willing to listen. As one of the things I know from doing this for as many years as I have, is there's 1,000 ways to skin the cat. We're going to talk about some best practices today, but a lot of it is creativity, you know, kinds of things. So thanks, Letitia.
Jennifer Holbrook.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Holbrook. I'm an employment ISC. Some counties refer to it as an employment navigator.
Oh, okay.
Assist with the planning, monitoring of employment supports, help adults work towards community employment. Oh, I'm sorry, I've been with the county board 3.5 years.
Great.
Kathy Hartline.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hartline. I am also an employment ISC, and Jennifer is my co-worker along with Alicia Greenwood. I've been working in this field off and on since 1989, and I did take time off to raise my daughter for a few years, and I came back and I started working for Job Fusion as a trainer in 2013, and then in 2015 I became the employment ISC. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Many experiences. Great. Thank you.
Sarah Freese.
Hi, I am Sarah Freese. I'm a job developer. I focus mainly on the Lancaster area of Fairfield County. So I share my job with Amanda Scheidegger, and we've been here for 5 years now.
Okay.
Tina.
Hello, I'm Tina Smith, and I've worked for the county 19 years now, but I've been in the services and supports assistant position for about 2.5 years.
Great.
Brooklyn.
I'm Brooklyn Abibi. I'm the Services and Support Secretary, and I've been here for about 2.5 years now.
Welcome.
Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Wilson. I'm newly a transition and employment ISC, but I've been here about 3 years in October.
Great.
Vic, I think that's everybody. I'll give everyone a second to unmute if I missed you by chance. All right. I think we're good to go.
Okay. Well, go to the next slide, April. One more. So I want to spend a little bit of time and talk about these. These are kind of the 3 areas we're going to chat about today. I want to talk a little bit about the beliefs and philosophy. If you're going to be in this business of community employment and integration and those kinds of things, that's important that you know, the agency from top to bottom really believes in that, because you're going to run into a myriad of obstacles as you go through the process, and you guys all know this from your own work every single day. So we're going to spend a little bit of time just to talk about that. We'll talk about some specific tools of the trade, meaning you know, front end things like how you do job screenings and why it's important, why you should create task analysis if you're doing job coaching, those kinds of things. Some things to consider as far as, you know, developing natural supports and so forth. And then hopefully, time permitting, we'll be able to talk a little bit about roles and responsibilities of what a good job coach has. So I'm just going to throw this out for discussion. So, and not everybody needs to answer this unless you want to, but do you believe everyone that you work with can and should work in the community? Anybody?
I'll pipe up since nobody else is jumping.
Okay, good.
I honestly, I do believe that everybody who wants to work should have the opportunity to explore those options to see what best fits and what would do well for them, what they could do well at to achieve those goals. Not everybody necessarily wants to work, and that doesn't necessarily mean we can't have those discussions continuing, but For those that do want to work, then, I definitely think there's a potential. Sometimes finding that right fit can be tough, but people should have that opportunity.
I agree with Amanda. And I do think that we need to have ongoing talks with everyone. Because if they are saying they are not interested, we want to keep communication with them open and give them that option and allow to more education and more free choice, and have it with so that they know what their rights are and they know what their options are.
I would agree with that. I think that it also, potentially not everybody's views work as the same thing. And, depending on what their background is, they may not have to work. There may not be a need to work, or there may not be an idea of what a benefit of working looks like. So sometimes it's just about educating.
You guys kind of touched on this. So do you believe all adults, no matter if they have a disability or not, have an obligation to work? If you have a son or a daughter or a family member that doesn't work, what's your thoughts of them? I mean, do you think anything less of them because they don't want to work? Where I'm going with this is expectations of folks that we serve. I'm just putting this out as a counterpoint. My view is that if you're an adult in the world, I don't care how significant your disability is, you have an obligation to give back to society somehow. And normally that means work.
Yeah, I have a daughter with a disability and 2 children without disabilities. And the expectation is the same, that they're contributing, Good. They're working, yes. It looks different for each of them, but it's an expectation for sure.
Good. Because I think setting expectations for the folks that we work, we talk about the folks we serve having a life much like ours. And the reality of our world, every single person that's on this call today, is that we know that work is part of being an adult. Okay, right? I mean, in our cases, we're providing for families and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the folks we serve might be slightly different, but there's still that obligation, to give back to society. Now, for some people, that may be just a few hours a week. For other people, it could be full-time like you guys are doing and so forth. But I think it's important that agencies I heard the word education earlier. We need to educate people, to help them understand, what that means. I'll share with you a quick story. I have a lot of stories, and I'll try not to bore you with them. This was talking with a transition coordinator in the Cincinnati area. It's about 10 years ago, and she told me the story of these 2 families that she had been involved with over the years, and how the expectations of those families were different. Both of their sons had Down syndrome, and the one family, when their son was born, was like, of course, shocked and so forth. And, the doctor said, well, don't worry, there's programs involved. There's special schools, when they're in the school age, and when they get into the adult world, there are special places, county boards at this point in time, where they can go to potentially after they get out of school. There's workshops, there's residential, so they followed that model. And again, I'm not judging the families. This is just, they heard it from the experts saying this is how people progress, or could potentially progress. And so the young man had a very typical of a life based on that pattern. He was in a special ed classroom, segregated classroom, ended up going to a county workshop where he works, and he still may be working today for all I know. In some kind of a facility-based employment, was living in a residential facility. I don't know if it was a 4-8 bed or whatever kind of thing. And everything was working fine for that family. The other family, the young man who was born with Down was the youngest of 4 brothers. Mom and dad said, you know what? This kid's going to have the same life as his 3 brothers did. All his other brothers had paper routes. So guess what? This kid had a paper route. His mom and dad literally, because the school couldn't do this, literally figured out how to teach him how to do a paper route. So that meant for months and months and months, they were getting up with him because it was a morning paper and figuring out how he could safely do this and all those kinds of things. And so they chose that path for him. He didn't end up going to a sheltered workshop since he had his own job. He wanted to work, so he's working in the community. He has a roommate. They bought a condo with some help from his parents, so they have supported living. So again, it's just a different path for this particular individual versus the other one. And I think it's important for us as providers, as we're doing the planning process, to set high expectations. Now, that certainly does challenge us as a provider, to provide the outcomes for that. But my point being is that it's important that we set high expectations for the folks we work. My take on this is nobody gets off the hook for working. It's just the reality of the world. Everybody has to contribute. Again, that may be 1 hour a week, just because of who you are and what your needs are, and medically, behaviorally, blah, blah, blah. But you're not getting out of work. I mean, that's just an expectation. When my grandkids come over, guess what? They go to work at my house. I put them to work. So that's just how. So. Any other comments about that before we move on?
I just want to say one of the things we work on, and this is outside of the job fusion world, but so half of our department focuses on the job fusion, the other half tries to work with providers and basically the rest of the community. And one of the things that we really try hard to work with is support resources to our SSAs as well. And I know Julie's been involved in some of these conversations where we know our issue, and Tracy too, our issue so often is exactly, that's the foundational issue. We can do everything in the world until we get the rest of those stakeholders on the same page. It's a real challenge. So those are just some of the things that we feel like it's sometimes like Sisyphus. We're always pushing the rock up the hill, but it seems like one of those things that we're always trying to figure out new ways and new ideas to make that a better and easier conversation.
Well, you hit on it, Kyle. It's having the conversation at the beginning. Too often those conversations don't happen, and so it's important that all those conversations happen. So thank you for that, Kyle. So, all right, let's keep moving because I know we're kind of, I was going to spend a little bit of time and talk about some qualities and attributes of a really good community-based services company and community-based staff. So let's just talk about a couple things from my perspective, and you guys can certainly add your takes on it. Again, for a company that's really focused on the community employment and employment first and all those kinds of things, like I said, it needs to really be permeated through the entire company. Everybody needs to be on the train, as they say, moving the thing forward. And these are all little steps. The people need to be taking, but everybody needs to believe in it. For these private providers that used to be county boards, kind of runs and now are privatized, that was a really hard part. And part of my work as a subject matter expert with the state, I got to work with a couple of those companies. And it was really difficult, sometimes for people to make the switch from the county board mentality of caregiving to more teaching and mentoring and those kinds of things as well. And we kind of spilled into the staff piece here. But it's important that the whole agency really believe in community-based stuff. And so that at every turn, all those conversations, all your focuses are about making that happen. Some of the biggest obstacles, of course, are families are nervous about those kinds of things. I get that. That's a piece of it. but all the leadership needs to be part of that so that they can structure and put resources behind it. We know just from funding, that services follow money, right? If the state or the feds are going to pay for something, that's what's going to happen. Now they say they want to have more community-based services. We're still trying to figure out how to get more money into those, especially employment kinds of things, because we know community employment is an expensive service. But philosophy is really important. So everything you can do every day to help educate, because education on this topic is never ending. It's an ongoing thing. You have to live 24/7. Now for staff, again, I just alluded to, having staff that are in community-based services company need to be more teachers and mentors. We need to teach independence. And again, that's a little bit of a juxtaposition from county boards, where oftentimes we were about providing, care for folks, and that's a different mindset. And some of my travels around with CARF, I see how people are advertising for jobs and stuff. And many companies now actually don't say that they want people who are providing direct care, if you will. They're looking for people who can teach. They're looking for people who are mentors, those kinds of things, so that we're helping people become independent. That doesn't mean that, everybody we work with is going to be on their own eventually. Perfect world, maybe, yes. But that's something that's way down the road. I think a lot of people were concerned, with moving things to the community, that there wouldn't be job security. Well, I think we all are smart enough to realize that's not the case. So the staff need to think differently about that. They need to be, be able to think on their feet, and they need to be able to move with that. Anybody have comments on either one of those topics? Please share if you do.
You have a quiet group today, Vic.
Oh, it's okay. It's Friday. All right, well, let's keep moving, because we can skip that one. We kind of talked about that. So let's talk about some of the tools of the trade here. For you guys who do job coaching, and this is both vocational and non-vocational, I call it job because you're really teaching something. That really starts with understanding, what it is you're going to teach here. So this is some tools that I use, and actually APSE is going to be offering in the month of November, for any of you guys who are interested, a 3-part, 5 hours worth of CEUs, by the way, that's been pre-approved, job coaching training. And there'll be 2 sessions per week, so you only have to go to one, but it will get into this a lot more detail. But anyway, so for job screenings, I don't know if you guys routinely do job screenings as part of your employment process. So when somebody gets a job, that you're actually analyzing the job, looking to see, what are the pieces of that. I think too oftentimes companies will go in to do a job coaching assignment, helping somebody learn a job, and then they're not prepared to actually teach all the aspects of it. So best practices suggest that you actually go in and learn about the job in detail. Somebody says, oh, okay, well, they just do light janitorial stuff where they're cleaning bathrooms, and they're sweeping floors and collecting trash or whatever. And that sounds pretty, okay, yeah, we've done that before, but you haven't done it in their place. So, best practices would suggest that you should go in and actually, take a look at the job, if not do the job. I know in WLI, we still routinely send somebody in, a day or two before the job actually starts to do the job one day, just to learn all the pieces of it. Okay, so that's important. So you want to go to the next one, April, for me. So some of the soft skill stuff here. The new employee also needs to understand, some of this corporate culture stuff. And by corporate culture, I use that a very broad term. I mean, what is the personality of the company? Okay, I think if you think about your own work, not only you work when you've been working for Fairfield, but in previous jobs you've had, you know, people keep jobs or lose jobs oftentimes because of some of these corporate culture things and not necessarily how well they do the specific task. Okay. I know from my experiences, I mentioned earlier that I was in the restaurant business for 20 years, working with, you know, people with disabilities as well. But I know that in there, we had some people working for us that, gosh, they shouldn't have been there. If you look at the, you know, some of the detail work they did, but they were really into the corporate culture. They were made friends easy. They, you know, there was all those kinds of pieces. Not everybody we work with has that kind of social capital. I think you guys have all heard that term before. So it's just important to understand the corporate culture of the businesses that you're going to be in. You know, that has a lot to do with developing natural supports, job retention, and just minimizing those things that come into play. If time permits here, we'll talk a little bit about some real life things. So you want to go to the next one, April? You know, and then just some of the survival skills that you need, you know, and I know you're going to be working with many folks, residential providers, families, for some of these other pieces, you know, because you can teach them how to do the job on the job, but they need to show up on time, which means the transportation has to be in place, right? They have to wear the right clothes, right? They have to be on time, yeah, you know. I think we've all coached enough to know that, you know, sometimes when people bring lunches, they either bring too much food or not enough food, or who knows, you know, so it's working out all those kinds of details. Those all have impact on employment, you know, on things that need to be worked out. So that's where that corporate culture comes in, as well as understanding that. So, you know, when you're analyzing and preparing for a coaching assignment, these are many of the things that you need, you know, to make sure that you're good at. So, yeah. Before we get into task analysis, any comments on any of that from anybody?
Yeah, I do agree with you with going into the business beforehand and knowing the job, because if you get in there and you're trying to teach something you don't know yourself, it's going to be very confusing for the new employee. And then once he starts learning the task, he's going to have to relearn it if it's wrong, for instance. So
yeah, it sounds very. The problem that a lot of agencies have is they, you know, just the amount of it's a timing issue. Do you actually have time to spend 3 hours? You know, because technically it's not billable. You know, if you're OOD, you can't bill for that. You know, waiver, you're probably not going to be able to bill for that either, because the definition requires that the person you're teaching be next door. I just had this conversation yesterday or the day before, I remember, at one of those meetings about, you know, agencies just having to pay for that because it is best practices. Because what it's going to happen at the end of the day is that person is going to really, hopefully do better at the job and keep that job and so forth, you know, with it. So. Systematic instruction, task analysis. I don't know if you guys routinely use task analysis as part of your coaching process. I highly recommend it, if nothing else, for your own tool to understand how people are learning things. And like I said, if you go to the training in November, we'll actually get into a lot of detail on this. But you're basically breaking the tasks down into steps so that you can teach them. It's very much like for you, I forget who it was, said they were in the education, so I assume that she was a teacher for a number of years. Well, what do teachers use every day in the classroom? Anybody?
Lesson plans.
Lesson plan, there you go. Task analysis, same deal. Okay, they knew exactly what they were going to teach that day. Okay, so that's what the task analysis is about. You know, how are you going to teach it? You know, if you're a good job coach, You know, you need to have a strategy going in and know exactly what you're teaching so you don't forget anything, especially if you're supplementing what the employer wants you to do. You know, they're going to give you potentially a task, not really a task analysis, maybe a list of jobs that need to be accomplished. Okay, you need to organize those, so on and so forth. Okay, next one. So, and then these are just what you want to do. You want to define your objective. What are you trying to teach? Okay, you know, what kind of prompting strategy are you going to use to teach that, and how are you going to collect the data so that you know if somebody's learning something? The reason you want to collect data is really pretty simple. If you're not doing this regularly, it's so that some people that you're teaching, you know, to do the task may already know how to do some of these things, but they don't necessarily know it the way that that employer wants it done. If we're talking about jobs here, so being able to break it down into little pieces so that you know those parts that aren't working right, and so that you can analyze it more is important. Go to the next one, April. You know, then like I said, it's a way to evaluate your data. You know, one of the things that we teach our coaches at WLI is when it gets time to fade out at the job site, okay? You know, oftentimes, you know, we will use the data collection sheets to show that somebody now is independent in our estimation on these jobs. So we're going to stop, you know, providing the day-to-day kinds of stuff and maybe just doing so forth. So you guys use task analysis very regularly? This is anybody?
We used to use them all the time. I don't know.
Okay.
It kind of depends on the situation.
I hear that a lot. We used to do this all the time, but now we don't. So the question for me is, why did you stop? It had to have been effective at some point in time. Is it just a timing issue now, or
it depends on the situation. So we have employers a lot of times that will not give us a whole lot of time to pre-prepare, basically. They just don't have the ability, especially right now with COVID, for us to get in ahead of time. So that
sure.
itself has been one piece of it. But for us, I think the direction that we're trying to really push, not really push, but to kind of go through is the natural supports are doing the basic training, and we're kind of stepping back to let them handle training as they would with anybody else. And then we're in there to take those notes and do maybe not a full-on super detailed task analysis, but at least a task list of the things that they're doing so that we can add that supplemental support in where it's needed, so that we're stepping on pieces that we then need to pull ourselves out of when we don't really need to do that. Good answer.
Good answer. You're right. The task analysis only needs to be as detailed as the instruction needs to be. If you're going to be able to work off just bullets, you know, category bullets, then so be it that way. You don't want to make it any more difficult than you can. Yeah. So you do need to customize each one of these, but I think what happens is, you know, you should have done something earlier. If about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after you finish a coaching assignment, you have to go back. You have to go back in, you know, to do some additional correction or some massaging or whatever term you want to use, you know, for that pretty good indication that you probably should have invested a little more time on the front end, you know, versus the other one. Well, I'm glad to hear you have those tools available to you, because they are important with that. So keep going, April. Not going to go through the prompts. We've got a list here of all these different prompts. One of the things that I think coaches, good coaches, are very aware of when they're prompting somebody and when they're not prompting somebody. Somebody that may be a newer job coach may not realize that they're prompting somebody by something that they do. And then we wonder why the individual's not doing it when we're not there. That makes sense? Okay. I see a couple heads shaking, so that's good. Thank you for acknowledging that. So you really need to think about you know, how things are getting prompted if you're prompting people to do things, because you may be inadvertently developing some dependencies for the person you're teaching just by what you're doing that as soon as you leave aren't there, like you're setting some parts, or you're walking toward the closet where there's some supplies that they're going to need. Okay, that's a prompt, because you know, all those kind of things. You can go to the next page too, April. So that's just the laundry list, if you will, of it. So be thinking about that. Okay, let's keep going. How are we doing on time, by the way? I don't wear a watch now. So.
You have about 15 minutes before we need to.
15 minutes left. Oh boy.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's spend a little time on this one, because this is kind of the meat of it. You know, to be a good job coach, teaching and learning depends on a balanced relationship between the learner and the job coach in mutual cooperation and respect. I would hope that everybody you coach, you know them before you go into coaching. Does that always happen? Yeah, some yes, some no. Okay. Well, I know best practices would say that you need to know that person before you go in, because you're going to be teaching them, you know, on site with an employer and coworkers, and you know, and not having met them till you walk in the door together is pretty darn hard. I know when I job coach, I insisted, even if I had to do it on my own time, I would go and spend some time with whoever it was I'm going to be coaching, just because I didn't want to seem like I was like, who are you? You know, I wouldn't even know my name, those kinds of things, you know, because then it's also about how am I going to connect with this individual. You guys know this from all your job coaching experiences, that you need to connect with the person. You know, you need to understand how they connect with you and so forth. You know, so that's a relationship, and you can't do that. Sometimes you can do that in an hour, but you're way better than I am if that's the case. You know, so the second piece here, that you're detectives and anthropologists, because you got to figure out a way to teach people and for them to be accepted as an employee. You know, and that's a very fine line. You know, when somebody's a job coach and they're helping somebody learn something, all the coworkers see that, right? So they sometimes think that that person now is not as competent as they are as an employee, you know, those kinds of things. So we have to be very careful, you know, about that piece. And then, like I said, every person will require a unique approach. Let's go to the next slide. Learning styles. Only thing I want to really say about that one is not everybody learns the same way. And even depending on what the task is, they may learn a different way. If you go to the next one, these are technical terms, but you know, there are kind of three types of learners. This is one of them, a kinesthetic learner. Go to the next one. Auditory learner. Go to the next one, and then the visual learner. Those are the three main categories, if you will, you know, with that. And so you really need to understand, again, this is about understanding, you know, who the folks are, you know, that you're going to be working with. April, are you going to make these slides available to everybody?
I put the entire PowerPoint in the chat.
Okay,
so
great.
Anybody
Okay.
that wants to take it with them, feel free to drag it out of the chat into your desktop.
Perfect. Okay, good. So you guys can have that. You can review it later, so I don't spend a lot of time. The second bullet here, I think, is really the heart of it all. The ultimate goal of job coaching is independence. Think of job coaching as employment consultants. They're there to facilitate learning and foster on the job solving and the development of natural support. That's really what you're there for. You know, you want this individual who can learn the job. They're just going to maybe take them longer to learn it and be good at it, okay? And then they're going to be on their own, you know, and that we don't want to set up dependencies. You know, my philosophy and I see this a lot, is that, you know, I think every employer that you ever work with individualizes and customizes everybody's job, whether you have a disability or not, somehow. Okay? If you have to work with me and you know, you had to customize a few things for me, you know, you know, same is true for people with disabilities. And good employers, if the person can do the work, they're going to figure out how to help them. And your job is to make sure that the employer understands that these people that you're supporting can contribute. So go to the next one, April. And there's some information there on natural supports, you know, those kinds of things. Social inclusion, a huge piece of this. I don't know how often you guys do this. I know for WLI, we still routinely build into task analysis social inclusion. We know that people that are well liked on the job they don't necessarily have to be the highest performers. You know, if they have supports there, if they have people that like them, you know, so helping people become having social networks at work is really important. You know, and so not everybody that we work with is skilled at this or even understands this, you know, piece. So doing social. So, and again, the last statement, the job coach is there to supplement, not substitute for supports. Okay. Now you can certainly help them develop some, if you will, but so let's keep moving. Go to the next one. So these are all some of the traits of good coaches, and this kind of is a revolving. So if you look at this list for all you people who do coaching, you have to be kind of all these people all rolled into one. In my CARF travels, when I'm interviewing job coaches, I ask them, you know, what's your style? You know, do you have a style as a job coach? And it's interesting. I will get comments that say, okay, this is my style. This is how I approach it or whatever. And that's good that they have a clear vision of who they are and what they do. But let's think about that from the perspective of what's the best for the person you're teaching. Okay, wouldn't it be better for your style to meet their needs, not necessarily be in your valley, you know? So think about that. So when you're providing the service, you know, your style should be the style that's needed in the moment. Okay, and that may mean, you know, putting your hand on somebody's shoulder to, you know, encourage them, you know, or whatever, or give them a swift kick in the backside if they're not doing what they need to do for whatever reason. Okay, so good job coaches, you know, need to be a lot of different people at any moment in time. It's no different than raising your own kids. You're an angel, you know, and you're teaching your son or daughter, you know, and then the next moment, you know, you have to be the authoritarian and those kind of things, you know, and all those types of things. So think about your who you are on the job site. You know, what is best, you know, is needed for the person that you're working with. You know, one of the things that I always believed in is that job coaches need to always do the right thing even when nobody's looking. Because 99, well, maybe not 99, 95% of your work you're doing with the individual you're serving at the job site, okay? So you need to understand the philosophy piece. What are you trying to accomplish? Okay, who is this person? What does the employer need? And making that all work, okay? With nobody standing over your shoulder. Now, hopefully you have support. I'm not suggesting that job coaches and trainers shouldn't have support, absolutely. You know, I know every good job coach needs somebody to vent on. And same goes for developers and the SSA department. You got to have other people. You know, our philosophy is always keep all those trainers together in one group. Where it's at WLI, it's an open space. We want people to go, you won't believe what happened at work today. Well, guess what? Maybe it did happen for somebody else, some other place. You never know. You know, plus it's better to have 10 people trying to solve a problem than you yourself. You know, so tap into all those things. So keep going, right? Confidentiality and disclosure. I always include this because this is a very important conversation you need to have with the family and individuals. You know, will or you will not discuss a disability with your employer and coworkers. You need to know where you want to stand on that. You know, just understanding that. You know, the fact that you're in the building with them sends a pretty clear message that they have some kind of support needs, but always make sure you have that conversation. Keep going. When you're working with the employer, these are some things you need to think about. You know, does the supervisor manager, what is their style? You know, when I was talking corporate culture, that's where this piece comes into that. You know, understanding who those are. Does the employer have experience in managing differences or diversities? If you're in fast food restaurants and some of those big box stores, a lot of times people in supervision are not that skilled. Not that they're not good people and they deserve their promotion, but they're not necessarily managing people. They're managing tasks and those kinds of things. So you need to understand that piece, you know, and so forth. You know, and making sure you know, so I think sometimes managers, and I've had managers ask me, you know, this question before, you know, how do I work with, you know, Vic, you know, on the job site? And I've never worked with a person with a disability. You know, I remind managers that guess what, you work with a diverse bunch of people already. So you are pretty skilled at understanding who people are and what support needs they are. I can certainly, as a job coach, give you information about Vic, you know, to help you with that along, but you really have the skills. So I think some of it's about encouragement as well, of understanding who they are. Because in my vision of job coaches, you're as much there for the employer as you are for the person you're serving. Okay, if we're not taking care of the employer, then we're doing something wrong. So keep going.
You have 5 more minutes, Vic.
I'm sorry, say again. 5 minutes?
5 more minutes, yep.
You guys know all these non-work related issues. Just because it doesn't happen at work doesn't mean it's not important. Family issues, residential issues, you know, blah, blah, blah. All those things are important. Keep going, next one. Real life situations, go back one. There you go, thank you. So I just want to throw out one real life situation for one of you guys who's a job coach to handle. Okay, so this actually happened. You're training somebody in a retail store, all right? And the general manager, HR person gave you this laundry list of all these things that need to be done for this person to do their job. You know, so you created the task analysis and all those kinds of things and so forth. And on your very first or second day on the job, because there's 2 or 3 people who do this job, they come to you and said, well, that's not how we do this. Here's the list of things that we do and when we do this. How would you handle that? Anybody?
Go ahead and call on someone, Vic, like maybe Aaron Steebleton or someone like that. They would have a great answer for you.
All right, thank you. You called on him, Kyle. Who is it?
That would be me, I think.
Aaron, okay, there you go.
Right. Again, you know, like you said earlier in your presentation, it's very important to try to find some time to familiarize yourself with the tasks and the list that you've been given. You know, not always do you have the time to do that, but I think in this situation there, you could probably figure out what's going on. You've been given a list of tasks that need to be done. Certain inferences might have to be made. But
okay, good, good. I'm glad you referenced back to that. So yeah, then that's exactly what should have happened. Was that if you know, you were in there to do it the very before you started, which is not always possible. I get that. Then hopefully you can eliminate that stuff. So okay, let's go to the last. We only got a couple minutes here. Let's go to these last couple things. I always include this in this because it's important for you to realize that you guys are people too. Okay, and you need to be creative and so forth. So you know. Having fun and playing it may seem frivolous, but it's not. It's one of the most important parts of good being creative and so forth. So it's okay to have fun. Okay, so you know, it's a motivator for you. So anytime you can have some fun on the job, please do. I love to prank people, and I prank people all the time. You know, and it just takes the edge off of stuff and so forth. Don't worry about being foolish, you know. Like it says here, new ideas are not born in a conforming environment. Avoid groupthink and play the fool, the well-informed creative fool. You know, so take chances, I guess, is really what this is all about. You know, one of the things that we know this for sure is that no two situations are exactly the same. Similar, absolutely. Not the same though. You know, so coming up with new and different ways to try things. I can't tell you how many times I've failed on things, but I've learned something by it, and good things come out of it. And this whole thing about not being creative, you know what? Everybody's creative, and just in a different way. Okay, some of the most simplest solutions to problems. Do I have time for a real quick story, like a 1-minute story, April?
Yep, you have about 1 minute. Yep.
Okay.
Love to hear.
There was a young lady who was working in like a Dollar General store, right? Part of her job was to dry mop in between all these aisles, right? There was, I don't know, 24 aisles. She had to go through a pattern or whatever, and the young lady was just having a horrible time remembering where she was or whatever. Job coach noticed that while she was waiting for a ride one day, that on her right shoe was a little red dot, and on her left shoe was a little blue dot. And it's like, what the heck's going on here? And she said, well, my mom's helping me teach me how to put my right, because I was putting shoes on the wrong feet. So anything with a right, a red shoe, a red dot was my right, and blue was to the left, you know, and so that was helping her learn how to do that. So what did this job coach do? Oh, okay, so guess what now is at the end of the aisles? They get to the aisle, they're supposed to turn right, red dot on the little thing right there, blue dot if they're turning left or whatever. Cost them 38 cents worth of money, and the employer loves it because now guess what? She faded out. Super, you know, it's just a matter of awareness, being creative, utilizing the tools around you. So I wish we had more time to talk about this stuff in depth. This is a huge topic, but I'm so pleased to hear that you guys even wanted to you know, hear about this, and it bodes well for you guys are really on the cutting edge of this. So keep up the good work together. You know, like I said, if you're interested in some more in-depth stuff on any of this, you certainly can go to the APSE website. And if you're interested in getting six hours of job coaching and a lot more detail on all this stuff, then we'll do it that way. So.
Vic, I think I muted you on accident. I was trying to unmute myself. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so sorry. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
I'm signing off.
There we go. All right.
Oh, okay.
Sorry
Thanks.
about that.
Oh, you're fine, April. Pleasure, everybody. My contact information is on the bottom. If you might want to call or email me, please do. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. So thanks.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too, guys. See you, Kyle.
Thanks so much, Vic.